There's a moment you probably lived through without knowing what it was. You're sitting across from someone. They're calm, smiling, perfectly reasonable. Nothing they say is wrong. And yet, something inside you recoils, not because of what they did, but because of what you couldn't see. It's a feeling beyond logic, the subtle tightening in your chest, the sense that something is off, even though everything seems fine. You question yourself, tell yourself to relax, but the unease lingers, like standing near a calm sea that you somehow know is hiding a riptide beneath the surface. Later, you realize what you were sensing wasn't them, but the absence of something, the absence of a soul that's still connected to itself. And in its place, something else is looking through their eyes. Carl Jung saw that pattern countless times. The most dangerous sign in a person isn't a raised voice or a clenched fist. It's far more subtle, an invisible signal your instincts pick up long before your mind catches on. A sign that hides under charm, normalcy, even kindness. You might ignore it out of politeness or self-doubt. They seem so normal, maybe even charismatic. You tell yourself you're imagining things, but that uneasy feeling is there for a reason. Something inside you is detecting a truth your eyes can't see. Beneath the surface, something is very, very wrong. Jung realized that when you sense that disconnect, you might be dealing with one of the most dangerous psychological mechanisms he ever identified: shadow projection. Imagine you're talking to someone and suddenly they accuse you of things you never did or thought. Out of nowhere, you're cast as the villain in their story. In that moment, you are not speaking to a rational person. You are speaking to their shadow. Everything they hate, fear, or reject in themselves is being hurled at you. They aren't lying or playing games. They truly see those awful traits in you, because they've blinded themselves to their own. The shadow, as Jung defined it, is all the parts of ourselves we refuse to accept. We shove them into the dark cellar of our mind and pretend they're gone. But they don't vanish. They gather strength in the dark. And when the pressure is too much, those denied parts burst out, but not as self-awareness. They erupt as distortion, as projection onto someone else. Have you ever had someone misunderstand you so completely it left you reeling? They accused you of intentions that never crossed your mind, painted you as a monster when you know you're not. If it felt like they were fighting a ghost and not really seeing you, that's exactly what was happening. You became the screen for their inner demons. The truly frightening part? They absolutely believe what they're saying. A person deep in shadow projection isn't consciously deceiving. In their reality, you are the threat. You are the sinner. You are everything they refuse to see in themselves, and nothing you say will convince them otherwise. So what do you do when you come across this? Recognize it for what it is: an unwinnable war. You're not going to get them to see the truth because the lie is too precious to them. The only wise move is to step back, disengage, protect yourself. If you stick around hoping to prove your innocence, you'll only get dragged deeper into their internal nightmare. Here's the cruel twist. Often the person projecting sees themselves as the righteous one. They're convinced they're the good guy, the victim, the one who's right, and whoever opposes them must be wrong. That self-righteous certainty only makes them more dangerous. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, especially when it's walked by someone utterly convinced of their own purity. When someone becomes utterly convinced they're the righteous one, absolutely certain of their own moral superiority, Jung called it psychic inflation. unlike ordinary arrogance that anyone can spot. This kind of ego inflation is far more insidious. The person truly believes they're the chosen one, a savior, a mouthpiece of truth itself. They don't see a flawed human when they look in the mirror. They see a prophet, a hero, an enlightened soul who can do no wrong. Question them, and you're not just disagreeing. You're blaspheming against the truth they think they embody. Criticize them, and you're attacking the very forces of good they believe guide them. How can you tell if you're dealing with this? Watch how they handle doubt. Do they ever admit they might be wrong? Do they welcome another perspective? Or do they crush it like an insult? A psychically inflated person has no use for humility. To them, humility is for lesser beings, the greatest sages of history, the truly wise. Always admit how little they know. They embrace doubt, remain teachable, carry humility like a badge of honor. But these people? They have none of that. They are certain, absolutely, unshakably certain. And that certainty is intoxicating to themselves and to everyone around them. There's a reason cult leaders and fanatics draw crowds. Certainty is magnetic. In a chaotic world, someone who swears they have all the answers, who radiates unyielding confidence, becomes a beacon to the lost. But follow that light, and you may walk right off a cliff. An ego swollen with godlike conviction will not swerve, even as it destroys itself and everyone in its path. Jung warned that when your little ego grabs hold of something vast, an archetype, a god image, an absolute idea, it's like a child wielding a lightning bolt. The result is always disaster. The psyche cannot handle that kind of power without cracking. And the higher someone climbs on their self-made pedestal, the harder reality will smash them to the ground. Have you ever met someone who seemed above it all, preaching enlightenment but lacking basic kindness? Their words are lofty, but their eyes are cold. If your gut whispers that they think they're beyond the rules of being human, trust it. You're face to face with inflation. Stand too close, and you'll get caught in the blast when their delusion implodes. But sometimes, the most unsettling person isn't the loud zealot or the swaggering narcissist. Sometimes it's the one who seems perfectly pleasant, too pleasant. The one who always knows exactly what to say, smiles at all the right times, and never ever shows a crack in their facade. Something about their constant perfection sends a shiver through you. It's as if they're an actor who never leaves the stage. Jung called that polished character the persona, the mask we show the world. We all have a persona, but this person lives in theirs completely. They've forgotten it's a mask at all. And that, Jung warns, is a very dangerous place to be. When someone lives entirely for their image, there's a total disconnect between their outer presentation and their inner reality. They've sacrificed authenticity on the altar of approval, polished the mask so diligently that they can no longer see the face behind it. Maybe they even believe there is nothing behind it anymore. Have you ever felt that subtle chill around someone who is unfailingly polite? They never argue, never offend, always agreeable, too agreeable. Every emotion seems curated for the audience. You can't even tell what they really feel because they're always performing. That uneasy feeling creeping up your spine is your intuition sensing the hollowness behind the facade. Your gut is picking up on the incongruity. On paper, they're doing everything right. But something's missing. It's the minor hesitations that aren't there, the micro expressions that don't line up. Your subconscious notices the smile that doesn't reach the eyes, the script-perfect responses that come a beat too quick. When a person's every move is calculated, nothing feels real, and your instinct warns you. So where did all their real feelings go? They didn't vanish. They were pushed into the shadow, locked behind the stage curtain while the persona performs. And here's the thing. The shadow doesn't like being locked away. The more someone plays the flawless saint, the more chaos brews in their neglected depths. And when it finally spills out, it's often catastrophic. We've all seen it. The beloved icon caught in a scandal that shocks everyone. The overpious family man who one day snaps in violence. The friendly neighbor who secretly hid monstrosities behind closed doors. The brighter the persona, the darker the shadow it casts. When someone insists on being only good, you can bet the bad is accumulating, waiting for its moment. Living for a persona is a slow death of the self, a betrayal of your soul. Sooner or later, your true self, banished to the shadows, will rebel. It might come out as depression that drains all your fake joy, or reckless chaos that burns down your perfect facade, or a total breakdown that forces the real you to emerge from the ruins. Now imagine you're with someone, a friend or even a loved one, and suddenly their eyes change. A chill washes over you. For a split second, it's like you're looking at a stranger, or not a person at all, but something looking through them. Their voice, their face. It's them, but it isn't. You can't explain it, but you feel like prey, sensing a predator. Many would call it demonic possession. Jung's term was archetypal possession. It's not a demon from outside, but a force from deep in the collective psyche that swallows a person's ego. Think of archetypes as ancient roles: the hero, the victim, the martyr, and so on. When one of those storms through the psyche unchecked, the individual disappears under its weight. When someone is possessed by an archetype, they become a one-dimensional embodiment of that pattern. The hero-possessed person charges into a grand crusade, consequences be damned. The victim-possessed person sabotages everything to maintain the story that the world is against them. Nuance, balance, humanity, gone. It's like talking to a mythic character stuck telling the same story on repeat. The telltale sign. All normal humor and flexibility vanish. Instead, you get a fanatical, one-note presence, maybe a righteous zeal or a martyr's self-sacrifice. Their eyes take on that unsettling shine, and you realize arguing is pointless. You're not dealing with a person anymore, but with whatever idea has consumed them. History shows how dangerous this can get. When leaders become living avatars of an archetype, they can ignite wildfires. Crowds follow their superhuman certainty. But that same fervor can justify atrocities, because a person possessed by a grand idea stops seeing individuals, only the mission. Human lives become collateral damage for the cause. Remember, an archetype isn't good or evil in itself. It's just raw power. The healer archetype can comfort or, without self-awareness, turn into the fanatic who burns you alive to cleanse you. If someone channels an archetype unconsciously, its darkness will inevitably spill out, because the person isn't at the wheel anymore. Witnessing someone you love or respect in this state is heartbreaking. They can commit acts that shock you, cruel, out-of-character acts, and afterward they might barely understand why they did it, or they'll justify it with grandiose logic. Either way, the person you knew is lost in a fog of mythic thinking. In that fog, empathy dies, self-reflection dies, and what remains is dangerous. Watching a human being become an archetype's puppet is chilling because you realize something fundamental. If it could happen to them, it could happen to anyone, under the right circumstances. We all carry those archetypal seeds in us. Fall unconscious for long enough. Feed one side of yourself too much power, and you too could become something unrecognizable. That possibility should scare you and motivate you. Not every danger announces itself with wild eyes or fanatic words. Some come softly, like a nightmare that feels almost normal. Picture someone who lives the same tragedy on loop, no matter where they go or who they're with. Every new romance turns into the same betrayal. Every job ends the same way. It's as if the universe keeps playing a cruel joke on them, with different actors each time. Jung had a name for this: the compulsion to repeat. It's like an invisible script, forcing a person to reenact an old trauma, desperately hoping for a different ending. Without realizing it, they are both puppet and puppet master, staging the same misery over and over. For example, the child who felt abandoned might unconsciously pick partners who abandon them. The one who grew up powerless finds ways to remain under someone's thumb. It feels like bad luck or fate, but it's really their own unresolved story, repeating because they haven't learned how to end it. Now, if you come into the life of someone caught in one of these cycles, be careful. You will be assigned a role in their drama before you've even read the script. Maybe they cast you as the cheater, the abandoner, the abuser, and they will provoke and twist events until somehow you fulfill their prophecy. Or they'll make themselves the martyr yet again, and you the ungrateful one. And you won't even know how you got there. It's frightening because it's so subtle. There's no grand announcement that you're now an actor in someone's tragic play. It happens in little comments, small sabotages, unconscious tests you keep failing because you never knew the rules. By the time you realize what role you've been given, the damage is done. You're hurt, they're hurt, and the cycle is primed to repeat with the next unsuspecting soul. You might think you can love them enough to break the cycle or reason them into seeing the truth. But until they face it themselves, you're wrestling ghosts. The hard truth is, you cannot save someone still dancing with their trauma in the dark. They must see the pattern and step out of it, or nothing will change. If you see someone reliving the same pain and denying the pattern, step back for your own sanity. Sometimes walking away is the only way not to get sucked in. Have compassion for their pain, yes, but you don't have to be its next casualty. Until they wake up, that pattern will run their life like a script. And anyone close is just a supporting character. So what's the way out of all this? Are we helpless against these psychological dangers in others or ourselves? Not at all. Jung showed there is an antidote. Bring the unconscious into consciousness. In plain language, face your own shadow. Shine a light on what's hidden. Integrate it instead of ignoring it. Shadow integration means owning the parts of yourself you hide or hate. It means admitting that under certain circumstances, you too could be cruel or weak or selfish. It's realizing you're not purely a victim or a hero. You're human. Your ego will resist that truth because it wants to be only the good guy. But this is the price of freedom. Accepting your whole self, not just the pretty parts. It sounds strange, but once you acknowledge your capacity for ugliness, it loses much of its power. Say to yourself, yes, I can hate. I can lie. Those impulses no longer need to sneak up and seize control because you've owned them. Now you decide what to do with them. The demon you face in the light becomes a foe you can manage, instead of a puppeteer lurking in the dark. Remember Jung's words, "I'd rather be whole than good." To be whole is to own all of yourself, light and dark, and take responsibility for it. Being good, in the ordinary sense, often means hiding your bad and living a lie. True strength comes from wholeness. Once you integrate your shadow, those hidden fears and desires can't control you from the dark. When you encounter someone who's doing this work, it's almost palpable. They have nothing to prove. They don't puff themselves up with inflation, nor do they hide behind a shiny mask. They can admit faults without crumbling. They can hear criticism without flying into a defensive rage. These people have a kind of steady gravity to them. They're not saints, but they're real. And in this world, real is a superpower. Now, have you noticed any of these patterns in yourself? It takes guts to even ask. Maybe you catch yourself blaming others when things go wrong. That's your shadow at work. Or you keep ending up with the same heartbreak. An old wound is pulling the strings. If you see even a glimpse of this in yourself, take heart. You're starting to wake up. This is where the hard work and the true empowerment begins. It's far easier to point out the dangerous signs in other people. But to look within and confront your own, that is the mark of real courage. That's the point of all this knowledge. Not to cast judgment on the world, but to heal yourself. Because when you heal yourself, you break the chain. You stop being a danger to yourself and others. You become an example, a light. Picture what could happen if you answered this call. If you decided right now to face the part of you that scares you the most, to break one pattern that has caused you and those you love so much pain, do you think it would make a difference? Imagine a domino effect. Your clarity inspiring someone else to confront their shadow, and so on. Fewer people stuck in loops. Fewer relationships wrecked by unseen baggage. Fewer good folks turning bad because they never acknowledge the evil lurking in their own hearts. It starts with one very personal, very brave decision: to be honest with yourself. To sit down with your fear, your anger, your weaknesses, and treat them not as enemies to banish, but as parts of you that need understanding and transformation. That's how the shadow loses its grip. That's how the dangerous turns into the redeemed. By facing it head on, you take back your power from everything that secretly scared you. Think about it. The most dangerous thing in a person, according to Jung, is to live blindly, ruled by forces they won't acknowledge. But the most hopeful thing in a person is the moment they decide to open their eyes. This could be that moment for you, if you want it to be. So I ask you, as directly as I can, will you continue to let your unseen shadows pull the strings? Or will you finally shine a light on them? The choice is yours. If you've listened this far, something in you is tired of living in the dark. Good. Use that. Let it push you to face the mirror with honest eyes, because the only person who can save you from your shadow is you. And when you do save yourself, you become a light for others lost in the dark. Show them it can be done.